In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create custom 3D printed follow me eyes for a fursuit from a hand-drawn template. In order to do this, we will need a scanner. We will need a vector graphics editor. I used Inkscape for this tutorial. However, you can use whatever vector graphics editor you like, so long as it can export to an SVG. You'll need a copy of Blender, which is a free 3D modeling application. I used 2.79 in this tutorial. Blender 2.80 will be released soon, and it is very different from 2.79. So some of the things that I do in this tutorial may not make sense if you're trying to do them in Blender 2.8. And of course you will need the template that you wish to use for your eyes. I began by making a few sketches that I thought would work well with this particular fursuit head. Once I settled on a design, I took my fursuit template and a permanent marker. I placed a sheet of paper over my fursuit template and drew an eye on this sheet of paper that was in roughly the same shape as the one I had drawn previously, but would fit this particular fursuit head. I then took that drawing and I placed it inside of a scanner alongside a ruler. The ruler is mostly there for scale so that afterwards I can verify that everything is the correct size. Once we have the scanned template, we can open up Inkscape and import the image that we just scanned. It's very important at this point that we make sure that we have the From File radio button selected under Image DPI. This will ensure that the image is the correct scale when it is imported into Inkscape. From here, we'll use the Bezier Curves tool to trace out the eye template that we just scanned. I won't go into great detail on how exactly to do this, as there are lots of tutorials on how to use Inkscape on the internet. You can also choose to do this in just about any other vector graphics editor out there, so long as it allows you to export your image as an SVG afterwards. Once you've finished tracing the scanned image, delete the scanned image from the page. At this point, it's a good idea to resize the page to the drawing. Save your image as an SVG someplace where you will be able to find it later. At this point, you can open up Blender. When you open up Blender, you're greeted with the default scene containing a cube, a point source, and a camera. Let's begin by pressing A to select everything, and then pressing X to delete these objects, leaving us with a completely empty scene. From here, go to File, Import, SVG. Navigate to and select the SVG that you saved earlier. Okay, now let's get the vector image that we just imported centered in the scene. To do that, select the curve and press Tab to enter edit mode. Press A to select all. Press Shift S to bring up the snap menu, and select Selection to Cursor Offset. This will move the curve to the center of the scene. Now in the Scene Properties tab, scroll to Units and make sure that millimeters is selected. Then select Metric for the length. We are now going to scale our imported SVG so that it matches the scale of the original image. To do that, we are going to copy the width and height of the bounding box of our original image from Inkscape over to Blender. At this point, we need to apply the new scale to this curve so that the scaling is uniform. To do that, press Ctrl A and select Apply Scale. At this point, we need to convert the SVG that we imported into a mesh object. To do that, Go to the Object menu, hover over Convert To, and select Mesh from Curve from the menu. Now press Tab to enter Edit mode. Press A to select all vertices. Press 1 on the number pad to change into Front View. Press E to extrude. Press Z to extrude along the Z-axis, and enter 1, 0 for 10 millimeters. Hit enter. At this point, we have the outer shell of our eye completed. Now, once again from front view, which you can get to by pushing 1 on the number pad, we are going to add an edge loop. Press Ctrl R on the keyboard, hover over the eye object, and a magenta line should appear across it. Then click, and you'll be able to slide this loop down to the bottom. Click again, and you'll release that line. From here, click on the grab handle to drag upwards on that ring of vertices that we just added, and enter 2. Hit enter. This is the ring that will later be used to create the inner lip of the eye that will hold the mesh into place. You may want to make this a little thicker or a little thinner depending on your preferences. From here, we are going to add a solidify modifier to our eye. What this will do is apply a thickness to this eye. Again, you can make this as thick or as thin as you want, but I find that 2 millimeters seems to be a good value for this. Press Tab to exit edit mode, and then click Apply on the modifier. At this point, it's a good idea to remove any duplicate vertices from our mesh. So to do that, press Tab to enter edit mode, press W to bring up the Specials menu, and then select Remove Doubles from the Specials menu. We're now going to select the inner ring of faces that we created earlier. The easiest way to do this is to select one face and then hold Control. This will allow you to easily select multiple faces around this ring. With these faces selected, press E to extrude them, and then immediately click. This will give us a ring of extra faces along the inside. Now press S to scale them, and scale them in a little bit. This will create a ring around the inside of the eye that'll make it easier to glue the mesh to it later on. It's up to you to decide how large or small you'd like this to be. At this point, our eye is looking pretty good. You could stop here, but there's a couple of other things that we can do to improve it a little bit. Select Edge Selection Mode, and then start selecting the inner corners, as shown in the video. You can hold Shift to select individual edges at the same time. With these edges selected, press W to open the Specials menu, and select Bevel from the menu. Feel free to play around with the values within this menu. You can repeat this process for as many of the edges on the model as you like. I beveled all the interior edges, as these are the ones that will be visible when the eyes are installed into the fursuit head. Okay, we're nearly done. At this point, it's a good idea to once again press A in edit mode to select all, press W to open up the specials menu, and then select remove doubles, just to make sure that we don't have any unnecessary internal geometry that may affect slicing later. Okay, we're almost done, but as you may have noticed, some of the surfaces around the inside of the eye are a little jagged looking. So we're going to fix that right now. Go to the Modifiers tab, select Add Modifier, and select Subdivision Surface. Now you may notice that this causes a little bit of a distorted model, but there's something that we can do to correct that. Select the Edge Split modifier from the Modifiers menu and move it up the modifiers stack. And that concludes this tutorial. At this point, you can export your model, import it into your slicer, and 3D print it. Thank you for watching.